promise you won't let me down.
Hello again, friends. Just a quick video before we start today's show to say thank you so much for your monthly contributions through our Ko-Fi channel. I honestly can't thank you enough. It truly means a lot to see you all getting so behind this project, behind the platform, and using it the way I wanted it to be used, to have your say and air your ITFC thoughts in a really, well, calm environment, but also an environment where we can air each other's opinions and disagree, but disagree in a good way. Honestly, thank you so much for your monthly contributions. I'm currently trying to find out your names. The software isn't playing ball with me, so just have this as a thank you, and truly means a lot. Thank you, and see you in a sec. Thank you very much, it really does. Hello again, friends, and you are my friends. It's Monday, the 8th of February. We are counting down the Mondays. They are flying through. I can't believe it's already a week since I sat here and discussed some Formula One with you. But here we are again. Thank you for joining myself. I hope you are all well. Grab yourself a beverage and get comfortable, as our F1 aficionado says. And I will bring him in without any further ado. He is, as I've said, our F1 aficionado. He is the man, the myth, the legend. There is nothing this man does not know about F1. In fact, if he doesn't know it, it's not worth knowing. It's, of course, Stephen Thompson. Mr. Thompson!
Hi, you alright?
How you doing?
I'm well, yourself?
I'm very well, thank you, my friend. We've been working on some F1 mug ideas over the weekend. I was sending through some designs to you. You were particularly happy about your saying on a mug.
Get a beverage, get comfortable on a mug. I like that. That's quite good.
You were less happy about the margins of profit, though.
Come on, I'm in this for the long haul.
62 pence a mug.
We have to sell a lot of mugs, but it's tiny acorns.
How many mugs would we have to sell to take over Williams before the takeover?
Oh, at least 10.
10? Hey, we might be able to do that. Mike Brown, welcome in. Good evening, my friend. He says, Hamilton's ego running his head, pointless year, contract-wise. I think we've got that on the wheel, Mike, so stay tuned. It's already been a week, another Monday. There's not many left now till, obviously, the start of the campaign. Are you getting more excited as they bring out news updates for liveries and tests and things? How are you feeling ahead of this season?
I am. I do get excited about it because it's this time of year when you start to get the first few car release dates come through, and it seems like a long time away. Williams, obviously, we'll come to the launch dates, but Williams unveiled theirs the other day, which I was obviously very excited about, and it seems like it's quite a way in the future, but it'll soon be with us.
Absolutely,
I start to get quite excited this time of year. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that you on the WhatsApp you're sending through different bits and pieces. What did you send? What did you send through at the weekend? Because I kind of missed it because Town were playing. But what did you send through at the weekend?
I think it was probably the best news I could have hoped for, which was the Williams release date or their unveiling, which is nice. They're going to get the car out before testing this year and actually have a bit of time. So
it's always quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. Obviously,
right. We've got the third member who's not a Williams not a Williams fan, but he is a member of our F1 team. Stay casual. Town talk is later on, my friend. First, we crunch the F1 world and we chew the fat there. James King would sell Williams for no less than 5 mugs. 5 whole mugs.
That's a hell of an offer.
That is. Right, here he is. He is, of course, the
Lando Norris, Chief Secretary of the Fan Appreciation Society, Mr. Positivity, Neil Moles. Neil, how you doing?
Hello there. Yeah, pretty good.
Good. So, it's McLaren, isn't it? Have they announced anything recently?
The livery release date. That's about it.
And when is that going to come out?
Ricardo's had a seat fit and that sort of thing. I can't remember when the date is.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Steve jotted it down, and yeah.
And I'll ask you the same question.
Actually, it's next Monday, isn't it?
There is one next Monday, 15th.
Yeah.
Yes, that is next Monday. That is next Monday. So as we sit here, 7 Mondays away from the start of the campaign, Neil, how are you feeling? Are you excited, apprehensive, not yet feeling that sort of emotion? I mean, you don't feel emotion anyway, but you're a cyborg. But what are you feeling?
You're something else, Martin.
I know.
Yeah, I can't get carried away quite yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Good man. Well, you've been busy, the pair of you, this week, putting some items on our famous wheel. This week, we need to give it a name. I'm going to start naming the wheel. So give me, Neil, the first name of a famous Formula One driver.
Ayrton Senna.
Steve, give me the last name of your favourite coffee brand.
Egberts.
The Ayrton Senna Egberts wheel is a go. Here we go. That's bloody. I'll work on that. Is that wheel moving on your screen?
No.
But it is on mine, I can assure you. And I'll tell you what I've got. There we go. Straight off the bat. Hamilton signs a 1-year deal.
Okay.
There you go. It's moved now. Talk to me about this one then. Hamilton signs a 1-year deal. Oh, there you go. The wheel's had its moment. It's gone. The wheel's gone. The wheel's had enough. Right, Hamilton, 1-year deal. Kick us off, Steve.
Mike said about, obviously, in the comments there as well. It's unsurprising that he was going to sign a deal. I think it was just going to be when he actually did. But only a 1-year deal. So Mercedes have obviously got one eye on the future and the fact that Lewis isn't a young lad anymore. Lewis might be in it just to literally see if he can win an 8th title and then retire as the statistically the greatest driver.
Is it a team decision, Neil, or is it a Hamilton decision that it's only 1 year? Because Steve says one eye to the future. Fair point, but is this more of a Hamilton saying he'll do at least one more year and then seeing where he's at?
There's been comments that he's 36 now, and every season is, getting towards retirement. So potentially it could be the team looking for his replacement, or as Steve mentioned, that how long does he want to be in the sport? Does he want to just wrap up being statistically the greatest, and that'll do him? But I think there was mention that Mercedes have a review of their business, basically. So will they be in Formula One in a year's time?
Well, this remains to be seen. And I'm reading the F1 article on the website, and it says that it seems to put the blame more at the deadline, Steve. That because there was a hard deadline to reach, this was all they could really accomplish, and the two sides will continue to talk. And actually, there's probably triggers in the 1-year deal that could be triggered for an automatic extension anyway.
Possibly, because it did go on for a long time. And, testing's not that far away.
That's
in the grand scheme of things.
From what I did hear, the fact that it didn't actually go on for that long. It pretty much went on for as long as quite a lot of contracts do. It started around Christmas time.
Okay.
So was there a period of silence where the two sides just didn't meet, and then when they did meet, there was too much that either side wanted?
No, I think it was down to earlier in the season. It was the whole COVID thing. Was the season going to happen and all that sort of thing? So they pretty much knuckled down, concentrated on the season, and then Hamilton had his bout of COVID, so that stopped it again. Basically everyone went their separate ways after the season, and about Christmas time it kicked off. So That was the start of the contract talks, and
Any truth in what Mike Brown's saying? Hamilton's huge ego about trying to be a top driver. Put him in a Mansell car and see how many would have won. Do you think there's an element of truth in that? And if you did put him in a Mansell car, how many do you each think he would win? He's the GOAT, full stop. So he'd win it. Of course he would.
No. He's not the GOAT. He's got a hell of an ego about him. He's not the GOAT. He is not the GOAT at all. I'd much rather have a Schumacher or a Senna in my car than Lewis. He's not. He's one hell of a driver. That we can't deny. But he has got such a massive ego about him, which has seemed to come along in the past few years. He's become more of a diva, and he's become just obsessed with himself. It seems.
who's to stop him though?
Yeah, who's to stop him? What do you mean, he's in driver?
Yeah, basically, you've got, if he's got issues of potentially, I'm the greatest. There's no one to show that he's not the greatest, is there?
Well, Russell, is there? I mean, obviously, it has to happen. If Russell goes into the car from next year on, you're talking a long time, right? For him to be in that car or in a really good car, could he not go past what Hamilton's achieved in the sport, or is it going to be a long time before we see somebody?
I can't see Mercedes going on for another 9 seasons of being the team to beat.
No. Dominance always ends in Formula One. Red Bull's was relatively short in comparison. But the thing with beating Hamilton now, it might be done, but you think it took... Well, I think Fangio won 5 titles. That was in the 50s. It took until 2000 and I think it was 2-3 for Schumacher to win the equal amount of titles, which was 5, and then go on to get 7. And it's then taken another almost 20 years really to equal that. So whether it can be done, whether it will be George, it might be. He's still a young lad. You've still got people like Verstappen on the grid, Leclerc. But if I look at Verstappen and Leclerc, I don't see multiple world champions. I see a championship each, but I don't see multiple.
With the contract, there was talk of there being a clause that Verstappen couldn't join.
I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, apparently it's completely false.
I was going to say, because if that was true, that is pathetic.
Yeah.
So I want to stay as your driver, but as long as there isn't a guy who could potentially beat me in the other car, I'm happy having Bottas.
Do you feel, Mike Brown, imagine Schumacher in Hamilton's car. Do you feel it doesn't matter?
We saw it when he was in the Ferrari and it was absolutely dominant.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do you not feel that actually it doesn't matter at what time period we're in, that the next person to do what Hamilton's done will have the same comparisons of stick him in a Hamilton's car or stick him in a Schumacher car, or because as you go further down the line and things get more advanced, you move away. So do you feel actually this is just a period in time, and currently he's the greatest of all time, but actually, unlike other sports such as Tom Brady with the quarterback position, you can't quantify it. You can't say you are the GOAT, period.
For starters, he's not the GOAT anyway. But you know my feelings.
But many would say he is.
Many would say he is, yeah. Statistically, he is, but he's not. But you're always going to get that period because you had, obviously, you've got Vettel in a Red Bull. You had between 2010 and 2013, people comparing him to Schumacher, saying he was the one who's going to break all these records. Obviously, you've got Hamilton and Mercedes, you had Schumacher and a Ferrari. You always get these periods of dominance throughout history. There's always a dominant team. We've had McLaren, we've had Williams, Ferrari, Red Bull. You're always going to get it. So when Mercedes dominance ends, another team is going to take over. And it's whoever, it could be, for example, it could be Ferrari next. And it could be Leclerc who suddenly enters this period of dominance. But you don't know.
Absolutely. Right.
That's partly why I love it.
Back to this absolute...
What is going on with that?
I've got no idea. But we'll roll with it.
Old CD.
Yes.
At least it's spinning now.
It's a PS1 disc.
It really is. Blow on it.
Who will be leading the slowest team? Neil, kick us off.
Say that again.
Who will be leading the slowest team?
Russell.
Well, when I put that question, I meant basically who is going to be the slowest team on the grid.
Oh, so who will be the slowest team in the whole grid? Right.
Yeah, and there are
Well,
two teams that spring to
Williams.
mind fighting it. Well, there are two teams that are going to be fighting it out. I think it's going to be
Alpha?
Williams and Haas. I think Alpha will be all right, providing Ferrari can get their engine together. I think it's going to be Haas.
That's a big providing in a sport that's governed by a pissing engine.
Yeah, that's a hell of a handicap, isn't it? You need to have the best engine, and if your engine is pretty crap, then you're stuffed.
That car over there, that'll run about like a beautiful car if it had an engine.
Yeah,
it's a big if, that, isn't it?
The chassis is okay, but if that thing had an engine that works, that would be amazing.
Yeah, but if it has no engine, the chassis can look as great as it wants.
That is a problem of current times. Even I'm not really sure the last time an engine manufacturer could just, rock up and, perform well in the sport. Because you think back in the day, a team that was underperforming or had a disagreement with the engine manufacturer, they would just go out and get another engine supplier. That just doesn't happen anymore.
No, it's when BMW came into the sport in the early 2000s, they didn't hit the ground running. They were competitive straight away, but they also fell into the same point where Ferrari really took off. But you never get an engine manufacturer come in and win right away. Toyota never even managed it.
Mike Brown's another vote for the Alpha. Sorry, Steve.
That's fair enough. They're going to struggle. I think the two slowest teams are going to be between Williams and Haas, because Williams is still in this transitional period. There's still a lot of things going. I'm not making excuses for them, but I'm just trying to justify it already.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, all right. But Haas, I think, are going to struggle because they're having to use last year's car with updates. Neither the Williams or the Haas was particularly brilliant, and Haas this year have got two rookies. They've gone from two very experienced drivers in Magnussen and Grosjean to Schumacher and Mazepin. So it's going to be between those two for me.
We've said Alpha, we've said Williams and Haas. Out of everybody else, who is more likely to fall into that category? Do you feel? So who's at risk of falling into that slowest discussion? For whatever reason, could be car, engine, whatever. But who do you feel is most closely going to fall into it?
Well, last season it was Ferrari who were dropping into that lot, but they and Binotto will be hoping that there's a big jump to be had.
Absolutely, and we've got Binotto on the wheel, and he certainly will be. Steve, do you think Ferrari are at risk of it, or do you think somebody else is more likely to step into it?
I think Ferrari will pull themselves together. I can't think of a team that would really risk dropping into that bottom three. I think if I was pushed and I had to say one, I'd say maybe Alpha Tauri. Because they were a bit hit and miss last year. They had some great races, but they weren't 100% all year. And they have got Yuki Tsunoda this year, who was a rookie coming into the sport. So if I was pushed, I'd say Alpha Tauri.
Okay. All right. That's it. Yep, you were pushed. I'll take that. Let's go. We have got Binotto on that list coming up. This is going to be number 4, which is there you go. It's yours, Neil. Take us away, my friend.
I didn't read it.
Is Carlos a good choice for Ferrari?
Yeah. Basically, has it turned out to be good or bad? The fact that McLaren were doing really well, was it just the badge that took him there? And what are Ferrari going to be like, really? And the fact that he's gone into Leclerc's team, a team where he's basically pushed Vettel out the door, and now Sainz has come along, and then you've got Schumacher and all of the youngsters in the way, Haas and waiting to basically push Sainz out the door. So he's keeping the seat warm for Schumacher, who he's said is a good driver and hopes does well, but basically is he just keeping his seat warm to be replaced in a year's time?
So is he a transitional driver in a transitional car, really, isn't it? Let's be honest.
After leaving a team that, in a way, made his career, really, because he wasn't going anywhere until he came to McLaren. He found some confidence and become who he is now.
Yeah, obviously the seat that was for Sebastian Vettel's a legend, so it's never easy sitting in a seat for a legend, is it, Steve?
No, big boots to fill. Unfortunately, Vettel's last few years at Ferrari haven't been brilliant. They've been sort of, tinged with mistakes that are mostly driver error. But I can't help but wonder if Sainz is thinking he might have shot himself in the foot, because he's gone to the most famous team probably in motor racing, not just in Formula One. The draw of Ferrari must be absolutely fantastic. Like Neil said, he wasn't really doing anything at Renault or anything like that. He got overlooked for the Red Bull seat, and then went to Renault, pretty average. And then when he came to McLaren, he then really took off and sort of cemented himself as one of the best drivers.
Could he be looking at this as an opportunity? That if he is a driver that turns around Ferrari's fortunes, and we all know Ferrari's sort of bosses are fighting for their for the future. That's a big pat on the back, isn't it? Because Ferrari is seen the sort of company that if you do turn around their fortunes, if you do put their name back amongst the top 4, top 5, you're going to get sort of rewarded for it.
I think he's in a very similar situation this year to Sergio Perez, because his career, obviously he was at McLaren, but he got overlooked for that Red Bull drive, and he went to Renault. And everyone thought, okay, so he's probably missed his chance with the top team. Similar like Sergio had the chance with McLaren, and he ended up at Force India for years. He's now got the chance at Red Bull, so he's got the chance at the top team, as has Sainz. Obviously a different one to what we were thinking. But he's got the chance to really put himself on the map here and put Ferrari back on as well. And if he can do what Ferrari are going to expect of him, which I think is just to be a solid driver to Leclerc, he could put himself in the shop window for other big teams in the future.
This is a really good point, because Ferrari have been out of the running really for a little while now. So, and they even longer for the fact that they haven't won a title. So if Sainz or Leclerc happen to be the next person that does that, they're basically going to be gods in Italy, because they managed it after all this time.
Yeah, it's almost a reclamation of the name, isn't it? And if he doesn't, and then the car is as bad as it was maybe last year, it's a no-win. It's a no-lose, isn't it? Because then you can go to another team and you can put the blame on the car, and other teams will think, well, he's a steady driver. The car wasn't great. Like, the excuses suddenly start coming out, don't they?
The thing with that, especially with Ferrari, the car obviously wasn't brilliant, but look what Leclerc was managing to do in it. So he could go to another team and say, yeah, but you can't really have a go at me because the car was crap. And they were saying, all right, why did Charles get 2-3 podiums and you were struggling to finish top 6, top 7? The potential was there in that car. It's unfortunate that Seb didn't really get the most out of it last year. So
that's the thing. If Vettel can get away with some dignity intact, then Sainz will hope to do the same.
And while we're talking about Ferrari, let's move on to Binotto. It's on the wheel as will Binotto keep his job at Ferrari if they foul this season. So if they do foul, how do you see that playing out for Binotto?
This season is basically do or die for him. He backed Leclerc. He's one of the men that he rates Leclerc and has pretty much helped make it his team, his number one, basically. So if it doesn't go very well, it's pretty much bye-bye to him, really. Yeah.
I mean, on the show last week, Steve, we were reading about how they were bigging up Charles Leclerc, weren't they? They were really sort of almost saying he's the second Michael Schumacher that they've had. So, big shoes.
And I think being
another
team
thing
principal... Sorry, Carol.
Okay. Another thing about Sainz, apparently he gets really involved with the engineers, so he'll try and improve that Ferrari. So, on the other hand, if it doesn't work this season, hopefully he'll be given enough time. He can continue his input, potentially what he did with McLaren, to try and improve them and do things behind the scenes that you don't see on the racetrack.
That's one thing that could help a lot of the drivers, because if they do struggle in 2021, they can say, well, hang on, this is the car you used last year. I wasn't around when this car was made. There's been updates and upgrades and changes, but if Sainz struggles this year, so but this car was originally made for Charles and Seb. I've sort of come in having to get in someone else's car with a few changes. But so with Binotto, I think Ferrari, where they go wrong is they don't have any patience with their engineers or their bosses, because as soon as something starts to go wrong, they're gone. Well, I think Bonotto. I'm surprised Bonotto hasn't already gone, but we saw it before with the chap before him, Arrivabene, Maurizio Arrivabene. It started to go wrong for him, and he was out straight away. I think if they just took their time a little bit and showed a bit more faith and a bit more patience, they might get rewarded quicker.
It was mentioned that a couple of seasons, Mercedes didn't actually have the best car. It was always close. I know they've had a few dominant seasons where Hamilton's just walked it, but there's been a few where Ferrari have actually been on the door knocking, and they're the times where Ferrari potentially should have done better. Was it the one where Vettel ended up throwing it into the gravel in Germany?
2018,
And
yeah.
That season, Ferrari were really good, and it just fell to pieces.
I think it's weird because Seb had the lead of the championship that year, and we thought finally we've got an end to this Mercedes dominance. And as soon as he chucked it in the gravel in Germany, he just seemed to change, and he just seemed to lose that spark.
Who was the manager at that point? Was it the guy that you said?
Yeah, I think that was Arrivabene at that point.
Yeah, so that would be the reason he got thrown out the door then, because to be pretty much there to win the title and not to, that's just not good enough for Ferrari, is it?
That's it. Chose Europe Ferrari, which is the most successful team in Formula One. The expectation is to win and win again. And if you're not doing that, they're going to ask questions. If you're at a team like Aston Martin or Williams or Haas, you're expected to turn up and race well. And if you get a good result out of it, bonus. If you have a crap race, fair enough. But at Ferrari, the pressure must be unthinkable.
Yeah, the Man United of the F1 world, really, isn't it? With the prestige and the history and the success rate. And as we sit here, obviously 8 Mondays away from the start of the campaign, and I had to press you, will Binotto survive another poor year? Yes or no?
No.
Not another poor year, no.
Okay.
If they get their act together, yes.
2 more on the grid. One is a Williams one, Steve, so get excited.
Go on, Williams.
Do you reckon that wheel would give similar vibrations to what Kimi had where his suspension broke?
Oh, that was brilliant. Almost wiped out VAR as well, didn't he?
Was Claire to blame for Williams' failings?
Not strictly. I think there were a whole lot of errors that went on there. She did make a few questionable decisions. Unfortunately, a lot of them involve putting pay drivers in the car who aren't going to get you the results that you really need, like Lance Stroll, Sergei Sorokin, Robert Kubica as well for 2019, which was a strange one. I don't think she was solely to blame because she wasn't running the team. At the end of the day, Frank was still at the head of the team, but she was doing the sort of day-to-day things and going to the races. But, Frank was still on the board and there were a lot of experienced people there. And it sort of coincided at a time when Formula One was getting more and more expensive. And as they're slipping down the order, they're not getting the money they need to climb back up. So they do worse and worse and worse.
To be who Williams are, and they've got their own identity. They have their own way of doing things. And if they wanted to stick to that way of doing things, then I don't believe Claire was doing any wrong, because they designed pretty much everything. And that's how they wanted to be. Now, this new company that are running it, they're choosing to accept, like Aston Martin, to take on a lot of parts that are designed and made by different companies. So that can make things cheaper and show results a lot quicker. But that isn't the Williams way. So for all these people out there that say they should have done it a long time ago, yes, in a way that is correct, and that's the route I would take. But I don't think you can take it away from Williams wanting to prove they could do it on their own. That is who they are. And
it's something they've always done, isn't it?
Yeah, to push and say, no, you're not good enough, I think it's not really fair on them, to be honest. It's that they're trying to prove that they can do it.
I admire them for how long they carried on doing everything by themselves, because they know they're slipping down the grid. they're in a sport which is getting increasingly expensive. So to still do everything themselves is fantastic. And it's taken a lot for them to say, actually, yeah, okay, things are changing, and they're doing. Yeah, it's worked out well for Haas, and it's worked out well for Aston Martin. Obviously, they're taking more bits from Mercedes and Haas from Ferrari. So to them to actually say, okay, yeah, we need to increase this technical partnership with Mercedes and get more stuff brought in. It's going to, like you say, it's going to work out cheaper. It'll get them up the grid quicker, because if they carried on the way they were going, they probably wouldn't have lasted a few more years. So
no. Something I would say is potentially her fault is some of the signings, the acquisitions of members within the team, because they've had so many engineers or designers, that sort of thing. Who was the guy from Mercedes? One of the latest ones.
Paddy Lowe.
Yeah, Mercedes seemed to cover up how much he got involved on their cars, and it pretty much turns out that he weren't really involved that much, and he hasn't ended up helping Williams. He's cost them a fair bit. And
2019 car which he was involved in turned out to be a complete dog, and then he left. He really left a minute.
Yeah, was he only there one season? There was I thought there was a couple of cars he pretty much took them, or was it just one season? He took them down completely the wrong direction, and
it's frustrating because he was with them, and I think the first team he ever joined in the 80s or 90s was Williams when they were at their peak, and he came back obviously after Mercedes, and he designed the FW, I want to say 41, but I don't know, for 2019, FW 42, I don't know, I think it was 42, which was a lovely looking car, but unfortunately a good looking car doesn't mean a quick car, and it was awful.
MP420.
That's the McLaren.
Oh, okay. Sorry, trying to help.
I think it's the FW42, I'm not sure. And it turns out he was a complete dog, and then he left. So the Netflix Drive to Survive actually shows quite a bit of detail about that, about what went on.
And so what's the last Williams that was half decent? Massa was there, and they had Martini. Was it the first season they had Martini as the sponsor?
Yeah, 2014. They loads of podiums, almost won a race or two, got pole position.
Now, if that season, if they had done a little bit more that season, that could have changed their fortunes.
I think it's important to say just that it does say that he left due to personal reasons. He took a year out due to personal reasons, and then was an amicable split. Just got to say that. That's what it says here on my screen. So make that obviously clear for guys and girls at home. Steve, I will give you bonus points though if you can tell me what his first job title was with Williams.
Oh Christ! I have read about it.
Nope, not a bit higher than T-Boy.
Was he just a mechanic? Pit crew?
No. Joint head of electronics.
Not bad for a first job title.
Not bad for a first job, eh?
That's T-Boy then. Well, that's a F1 term for T-Boy.
He was involved in the software for Frank Dunny's active suspension design, which used to help Nigel Mansell win a world championship. Right, last topic, okay? Because I feel we could spend hours talking about Williams, and we probably will before the season starts. There's still another 7 shows to fill. Is McLaren a top team? Is McLaren now a top team? That was the question. Why not yet?
Well, third last year was very good. If they can continue that this year and get third or better, who knows? They're working their way back up towards it, but not yet for me. Not until they can start challenging for wins.
Consistently? Do you want consistent challenges for wins then?
Yep.
Okay. Neil, they're a top team. They're your team.
For me, no.
Not for me.
Once again, I have to agree with Steve that basically, consistently, pretty much every weekend, they have to be fighting for podiums, and then they can be considered a top team.
And
until
can
they
do that?
that. If everything goes correctly, then yes. But I know it's still quite a large margin to. They could close in on Red Bull, but they're miles away from Mercedes.
Okay, all right.
Got a good lineup this year, though. One of the most exciting lineups on the grid.
Why is it one of the most exciting lineups on the grid? Just
two of the most talented drivers on the grid. Daniel Ricciardo, Lando Norris. He's come into his third season. Very quick, very consistent now. Just needs to iron out a few little errors and he'll be fine. And Daniel Ricciardo, well, he's a race winner.
Something that was pointed out with Sainz and Norris that were there. Norris was good on a Saturday, but he always struggled on a Sunday compared to Sainz. Sainz, every championship they were together, Sainz outperformed him. Even though, was it only 6 points? Was it 9? However many it was. Yeah, but there were several positions in the championship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was quite tight.
Right. Well, I'm sure I'm going to get some McLaren thoughts heading up to the season. So, for another week, I think we'll close the chapter there. Any key dates between now and next Monday we need to be made aware of, guys?
Not as far as I know. There's no car launches yet.
So
well, next weekend.
Next Monday is going to be the first car launch.
And we'll be here, 7:15, to bring you all the latest fan
Come on, McLaren. Bring us a good car.
Steve, lead us out. When you say the words, I will press the button. Over to you.
Thanks very much for watching. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for getting involved. We love it. We appreciate it. Hopefully see you on Monday when we get the good look, or the first look at the new McLaren for 2021. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next week, 7:15.
See you then.
Promise you won't let me down.
Helps me focus my attention.